So real quick guys, I just wanted to show you how few of tools you really need to actually get started with doing melting, and it's just as simple as some leg protection for when you're pouring in case there's any splashes, some gloves. There are electric furnaces, but I'm using the gas type, so you need a tank which connects to a hose to the main furnace here. Some kits come with somewhere to put the crucible on after you get it out of the furnace, but you're definitely going to want that to set your crucible on. Obviously you'll need the crucible. Today we're going to be melting copper, so I've cut down your copper bar rounds to melt down there. This is just the lid. You'll notice that's stained that picus red color from the copper fumes. So make sure you're staying in a well ventilated area or wearing a mask when you're doing the furnace, because this is what you're breathing in. This is what your lungs is going to be breathing in if you aren't wearing protection. I used, I won't get into it too much, but there are certain products that you need to put over the top of this to make it hard so that the fibers aren't also coming out of the furnace as you're burning, which is obviously another danger for your lungs. There's plenty of other videos that explain all that though, and what the process looks like. And then lastly, you're going to need something to do pours. There's a cross mold here, and then I did a sand cast. For my sand cast, what I think the easiest thing to do is to 3D print a mold, something that you want to make a copy of for copper or silver or gold, whatever, and then you use that in the sand cast to make a mold of it. You take the 3D print out, and then it leaves the hollowed mold of what you printed, and that makes a pretty easy sand cast without putting too much effort into molding process. So with that, we'll get this started. So the first thing you're going to do is turn your tank all the way open. This has a separate gauge itself. That's why you wear a glove and use a long stick lighter, because there's going to be that initial puff when that gas builds up. The only way to avoid that is to have a lighter already there as soon as you open that gas, but otherwise that gas builds up instantly and you're going to get that little bit of a puff, so don't let it shock you. So now that you've got the furnace on warm, you'll take your prongs. These are two tools I forgot to mention. The prongs, putting the crucible in there, and then this is to get the slag out of the crucible if you have slag. The first thing we're going to do is a quick dip bath. Put the crucible in, heat it up to about 400 or 500 degrees, burn off any moisture, take it back out, let it cool off for a little second, and then you'll actually start the melt process. That removes any moisture that might have built up that could cause it to expand too quickly and shatter, obviously causing issues. So that quick little heat up gets all that to evaporate, cool it back down, and then it's dry and good to go for the actual process. So we did the pre-soak. Now we're actually starting to heat it up. It's going to be a little loud because it sounds much like a turbine. Got that loud gust of wind blowing through, you know. But we'll peek in there real quick and I'll show you. It's kind of hard to tell. It's kind of hard to get the camera close because otherwise it'll melt the lens with that heat that's coming out of there. But right now we're actually starting the heating process up to get it up to temperature to melt that copper. And with that, we'll put the graphite mold on here to help heat it up so that it's not shocked when that hot temperature hits it. This will heat up with it. So they're going to be not necessarily the same temperature, but close enough where it's not going to shatter instantly when that hot touches the cold graphite. Alright, so now we have the copper fully melted. It's in a liquid state right now. So I'm going to set the camera up so we can do the first sand cast pour, and And then I'm going to pull the graphite crucible and do that pour as well, so we can see both. And then after that, when things cool off, I'll show you the results. Alright, so now that the pours have cooled off, you can kind of roll this over and it will fall out generally once it's cooled. And then you'll see it's going to look this gray oxidized color, but in the back you can kind of see the copper. We'll have to take this next and hit it with the wire brush wheel to polish it up and give it that nice copper shine. And then next we'll open this up and see how the sand cast turned out. You can see that it kind of burns that sand, but again it's going to leave behind. Kind of play shuffle here for a second. It leaves behind that mold, which is pretty cool, so we'll pull that out. So we have here, you can kind of see the bottom, how it's got that nice shine polish. That's what it'll look like once we shine it all the way up. But you can see it, you can tell it's an owl right now without it even being cleaned up so far. So for that next part, we'll take these down to the grinding wheel. We're going to have to cut off that little bit of overpour at the bottom so it has a nice flat perch it's on, and then like I said, take a wire brush and polish it up, smooth any edges like this that might have leaked out a little bit, but otherwise it looks like it turned out pretty good. Just so you guys kind of have an idea, this is the 3D mold from whence this came from. So it's a 1-for-1 reproduction of this, and this is just a 3D filament that I used to imprint into the sand cast and then make this. So you can see it's pretty close. The details you'll see better when I clean it up, but it's pretty much there. So I skipped out all the boring parts of wire brushing it, but you can see how they polish up to a clean finished product. I still have a little bit more to go, but I was just doing this quick update to show you how it goes from this blob of gray and ugly copper into this shiny polished statue here. And I'll take a final picture at the very end to show you the end results. But that's it. I appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you next time.